Welcome everybody at home. It's time to kick back, pour yourself a cup of coffee, cut yourself a slice of Victoria sponge and get comfy, because of course it's time for the craft show. Well, thank you for joining us, of course, here at the Craft Show. We hope you're enjoying the shows that we've put out so far. Don't forget, it's very, very important to us that you find the subscribe button on YouTube and press that subscribe button. It's really important because YouTube like it when we've got more subscribers. The more subscribers we have, the more YouTube like it. And why is that important? Well, if they like it, it keeps our rankings up and that helps us to make more videos. So please, please don't forget to press the subscribe button. And of course, as always, we've got some fantastic crafty demonstrations coming up for you, and we have a couple of guests in the studio today, but I'm going to introduce you to one at the moment. You'll probably hear the other one knocking about in the background at some point, and we'll introduce you to her too. But in the meantime, in the studio today we've got Hannah Silcox. How are we doing? You all right?
Hi.
Give us a crafty kiss. How are we doing?
Nice to meet you.
And you. You've journeyed over from Nottingham to see us today,
yes.
haven't you?
Yeah.
And that's good. And you've come to obviously do a little crafty item for us, which we'll reveal very shortly. But in the meantime, for anybody at home that's not familiar with yourself or your work, do you think you can tell us a little bit about you?
Yep, I am Hannah, and I am the owner and crafty lady behind Archer's Crafts. It is a sign writing business, but I have just recently branched out to do home decor, wedding signage, that kind of thing, just to make it more accessible for most people to have something that's bespoke. So I launched my new website this year, and I just opened my new Etsy shop, so it's up and running, and fingers crossed it's going to do all right. But I do a lot of big sign writings for businesses and schools, but today I am going to be showing you one of my most popular signs, which is the A4 sign that I do. It's a hanging sign, and I've done a few versions of it just because we don't have time to watch paint dry, so literally, and it's probably be a bit dull if that was the case.
Now, just before we go on, you mentioned that you've got an Etsy shop that's now open.
Yes.
Can you tell everybody at home what's the address of that if you want to have a look for that at home?
That is archerscraftsuk.etsy.com, I believe.
archerscraftsuk.etsy.com or whatever the end bit is, you'll find that. Oh, they're gambling over in the corner, flipping the coins. Is she going to tell him? Is she not?
Good or not?
And the other, you said you've got that, and you've got a website, did you say?
I do. That is archerscrafts.com. Very simple.
Archerscrafts.com. So we shouldn't forget that.
No.
Okay.
All shiny and new, but it's up and running. And,
just to confuse things, shiny and new as well. We'll go with archerscrafts.com. Yeah, we'll aim for that.
Yes.
If you get it. So we're going to be doing with the A4 signs today. What are we going to need if we want to make this at home?
Okay, so I am all about repurposing and reusing, upcycling items. My main ethos is kind of using reclaimed wood, fallen sources, as less environmental impact as possible. One of my most popular signs is this one, which is birch plywood, which I cut and sand and do all that myself. But you can just get any piece of wood that you have lying about, a cupboard door or a piece of pallet wood, but just make sure you sand it first because we don't want any accidents. And it also makes it easier to paint, so
that helps.
It does.
So what's the reason? Because you mentioned it's what is it? It's birch.
It's birch plywood. I love birch wood, and I found a local company that cuts it especially, and then I cut it into the size that's requested. But this one specifically is kind of a bestseller, so I just thought it would be nice for someone to win and to kind of show you the most popular one, really. Because
of course we give anything that the guests make here on the Craft Show, we give that away to one of you lucky viewers at home, just for sharing the Facebook page. That's all you've got to do, share the Facebook page, and we'll pick somebody out before the next show to make sure they receive your lovely sign. Excellent. Okay, so what items are we going to need? We're going to need some sort of wood, like the birch ply.
Yes.
Make sure it's sanded. What
Yes.
other items will we need?
Well, for this one, I am doing a lot of, it's a floral wreath pattern, so
Okay.
you need quite a few different paintbrushes.
Okay.
But I tend to use, for intricate work, I use quite small paintbrushes, so 0 is number 0 or
Okay.
2. But
So
I
we
mean,
show
you
everybody
can,
at home that as well.
Yes.
So you've got a range because you've got quite a
yeah, I
selection.
have quite a
here.
few. My favourite one, I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Yes,
what my
yeah, of
favourite
course you
one,
are, yeah.
They're handover. They're handover paintbrushes, but
Mm-hmm.
I brought a lot of smaller ones today just because I use them for bigger sign writing because
Okay.
they're quite accurate and it's nice to use them on bigger pieces.
And what's the situation with what's the difference between a good paintbrush and a bad paintbrush?
Well,
is it the fibres in the
Yeah,
in the tip, or-
it is. I mean, you can get synthetic ones. I brought a few synthetic ones, especially one for you to use today. Give it a go.
Is that because it's an easier one to
Well, no,
use?
it's maybe a little bit, but it just makes the lines a little bit cleaner on the smaller brush, especially if you've not done it before.
Yes.
So it's a relatively, I find it quite therapeutic craft to do, but you have to be patient just in regards to painting drying.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it is the bristles on the brush.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I think, if you're gonna do this and you want to kind of commit to do it, you're better off getting a decent
Get some
set
decent
of
brushes.
paintbrushes
Okay.
because otherwise it's not going to turn out the way you want it to.
And in terms of the paint, just before we start,
Mm-hmm.
because I notice you've got a lot of what we call here in the UK, I don't know what you call them overseas, tester pots.
I do, yes.
And we've got some Dulux tester pots and some Wilco tester
So
pots. Doesn't matter what
I
you
normally
use.
just mix my own paints, but out
Okay.
of these today I just brought a load of tester pots in.
So you could
just
do
so
that
we
at
can-
home if you
yes,
wanted to have
yeah.
a go. That's good to know.
But because all the items that I make are personalised and made to order, I don't always find the colour that I want. So
Okay.
I've got lots of jars with paint in them mixed.
So we're just having a look. We've got another little guest in the studio,
indeed.
Izzy,
Hi.
and she's busy doing some Easter crafting.
Say hi.
Can you say hello to us? Hello.
Hi.
Blue
Eggs.
egg.
Yeah.
We're doing
You're
well.
gonna say hi. Say hi to everyone. Hi. Cutie.
That's what you can hear in the background going on in the background. We're going to see a bit more of Izzy. We're going to see a bit more of Izzy a bit later. Okay, so without further ado, we know what we need. We know the materials we need. We know what paints we need. Let's get crafting.
Okay. So I originally, whenever I get any item in that somebody asks me to do, I always draw a sketch of it. So that's what I did. I did a few versions of it here.
Can we have a look at that at home just to see what you do?
It's not. Maybe don't judge me on this, just because it's quite it's quite rough. But I because
It's good to have a
not
plan.
a bespoke sign,
Yes,
so
yes.
it doesn't have someone's name or it doesn't have a date on it.
Yes.
I wanted to do something relatively generic because
Yes.
someone's going to win it. So
Yeah.
so I decided on a nice welcome sign because it's always
Great.
nice to have something when you come into the house and to invite guests and
Okay.
things. So I designed a rough reef pattern just because it kind of inspired me, the fact that we've had one day of sunny weather, so I thought it might be quite a nice I thought it might be quite a nice thing to
tempting
do, a
fate.
floral thing.
Tempting fate.
Well, this will brighten your day, right?
Yes, it will.
If it is a rainy day, you see, that's
well
always
recovered. Well
thinking.
recovered.
British weather.
That's it. So we've done a drawing.
Yes, I do a
Got
drawing,
plan.
and then I just write rough notes as to possibly colours that I want to use, because I don't. If somebody asks me for certain colours, I obviously cater for them, but with this I don't know where it's going to go, so I always just think, okay, well the base colour is going to be that colour, and then I'll
Yes.
just mix and make whatever colours I want. So
Okay.
that's exactly what I did. So
Good.
that's the first stage.
First stage.
So
Okay.
generally it is sketching, so you know what you're doing, and then I've forgotten my white pencil, but I always freehand draw my designs
Okay.
onto whatever I'm doing.
Can we have a quick look at that so
Yeah.
we see what you've done at home?
So I've drawn with a white pencil. It basically goes onto any dark surface.
Okay.
And then I use a pencil on any light surface, because then
Yes.
it shows up on either.
And they're pretty colourful as well. We like that. They're pretty, the designs that you've come up with are pretty colourful, because you've seen quite a few of the different ones that you've come up with, including, of course, the one at the back here, which is the one that we're going to be doing today, isn't it?
Yes.
And people, like to create colourful crafts. I think that's part of the attraction.
Yeah.
And in fact, we've had, funnily enough, we've had a picture sent in of, because people often send us in pictures, don't forget, post your creations on our page, of a colourful, it's a decorated stained glass bottle, and that was posted to the page by Rustic Glass. So you can have a look out for them. Go onto Facebook and search for Rustic Glass if you'd like to see some more of their designs, but very beautiful indeed.
That's it. Share the love. Go on their Facebook page too.
Brilliant, they're always good. So, where are we up to? We've got our beach. You've painted a base colour on there already then?
Yes.
And then you've marked it out with a white pen?
I have, yeah.
Pencil?
Pencil, yes.
Pencil.
Just because then you can rub it off afterwards, because
okay.
it wouldn't be very good if it was
That
pen.
makes sense though,
Yeah,
to be
it
fair.
does. But if you do make a mistake, other than the stain items that I do, which are very unforgiving if you're not very confident painting.
Yes.
If you put a base colour and you keep the base colour, if you do make a mistake, you can always just touch up with the base colour that you've chosen.
And can you, once you've applied all your colour to the design, can you rub that out afterwards?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this pencil, and obviously a normal one is that it gives you a guideline. So this is just a rough pattern, and then the more detailed is what we're going to paint in.
Excellent. Okay.
And then
kind
of
she's blue peated it.
Yeah, indeed.
Here's when I created it
is
earlier.
to save you from watching paint dry. Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
Although
so you've made
that's
a start on
fascinating.
that already. You made a start on that.
It looks like I've done quite a lot, but you have to build up the colours and then the detail for the last. So it's.
And that's really the technique, isn't it? And that's what you're going to be showing us today. So just to recap, we've got the base colour, we've marked out our design with white pencil, you've put on some of your base colours already to start building up the design, and now what?
Yes, we can begin the rest of it.
Let's go.
So I don't know if you want to have a go on this or not, or whether...
If we're going to give it away, probably not. But do you know what? I do have...
Oh, yeah.
You're not the only one that's been blue petering. Here's one we prepared earlier for me to finish off. Although, I've got to be honest, we didn't really prepare it, you prepared it, didn't you? But we like that. So I'm going to be having a go on this one while you're doing your one over there. Okay, so what do I do? How do I start?
So like I said, it doesn't. I have drawn the lettering out, but because it's quite a rough sign on purpose.
Yes.
Because this one's going to be quite polished and that one's a contrast. It doesn't matter if you go outside the lines.
It's quite forgiving.
Yes. So I've given you some black paint to use and a very, very fine paintbrush because it just makes it a little bit easier to manoeuvre. And it should be relatively easy and smooth.
Does it need to be a particular type of paint?
Well, no. I mean, I use a lot of water-based paints and acrylics. I use lots of different types, really. It depends on the wood, the way it kind of sits on it. Or so this one, I'm not sure what's this. This one is actually an emulsion, so it should kind of dry quite matte.
Oh, okay. I think I'm going to be okay doing this.
Yeah, you see, you're on it already.
We're
it's
on
brilliant.
there. Just stay between the lines, as Steve said before
that
we started.
so we can see you kind
the
of.
lines.
I should have written numbers.
Yeah, all right. I knew that was coming.
No, that's for me. That's for me. I've got numbers on. Okay. So, right. So I have started drawing some roses. It's two-tone roses, so nice and pink. I don't know why I chose pink. I just thought it would look nice with the background colour. So I'm going to paint a few more of those on just so you can see how I do it.
Yeah. So is there any special technique to doing this?
I think it's all about having a steady hand. You have to do the groundwork where you are designing something and drawing it so it sits well on the piece of wood that you want it to look like.
Do you think that's a mistake that a lot of people make? They go to do something like this and then they prep it all and then they just do their design as they go along and they don't plan it.
Well, I think it depends on the person, but I'm very much a list person and a planner person, and I like to design something, especially I get the freedom to do it when I get asked to do a bespoke item, so it just means it's just more helpful, I think.
Okay.
But it is quite well, I find it quite therapeutic.
I think the danger is you can end up starting off with your word and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
So I think I do freehand draw everything.
Yes.
And I freehand paint, obviously. I don't use any stencils or vinyls or anything like that.
No.
And that's kind of one thing that I do. You're right. I do pride myself
Gone
on.
out of the line.
It's fine, it's fine.
When you're doing
Rustic.
your sign writing, do you use one of those? I've seen them. They have like a pole with
a painter's rest. Yes, I do. Yeah.
That's a better.
Sorry,
name for
painter's
it.
rest. Yeah, that's.
And you use one of those, do you?
Yeah, it helps. It means that you can paint more accurately, and it props your arm up effectively. So the one that's not using the paintbrush to do, you need to be able to kind of hold your other arm up because it's intricate work.
Yes.
So instead of like this, I don't need one.
No.
But for a bigger sign, it's just a bit more helpful.
And then what sort of things are still? Because obviously a lot of sign painting has gone away from paint and has gone to sort of vinyl and that kind of thing. So what sort of traditionally, what are you finding people are still going for with hand paint? Do you see canal barges and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Do you do that?
I have. I'm quite passionate about kind of working with local businesses and schools. I recently did some nursery school sign writing, which was really nice because they want to make everything really colourful and really big, and I got a chance to kind of paint their entire outdoor setup, which was really nice. So numbers and phrases, just lots of things. So I like working with the community and getting involved.
Yes.
There are obviously lots of commissions that I've done where it's business based, and my husband's business is how I kind of started off doing sign writing about 4 or so years ago.
Yes. And your husband is James?
It is James.
James?
Hey,
James looking after Izzy, who's bringing you an egg.
Thank you.
Can I have a look? Can I have
Do you
one?
want a blue egg?
Oh,
Sparkly
blue egg.
Oh no.
Oh no, mummy, that's mummy. Oh, that's going back to daddy. Never mind. Can we have another one?
Another one?
Oh, green. Green.
I don't think we get to keep the eggs. I think it's
round?
just a show and tell, I think.
Thank you. Do you think you could give me a high five, Izzy?
High five.
Can you give me a high? Let me take that. Can you, Izzy?
High
can you give me a
egg.
high five? She's left me hanging.
Oh no. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
There you go.
That'll do.
Good job.
It'll have to do, won't it? Right. I'm going to enjoy that.
Feel
later.
the love. Feel the love.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a pink one as well now. Pink and green.
Wow. That matches what you're wearing.
Yeah.
So she's
Oh,
really
she loves
enthusiastic about craft.
Okay.
And apparently pink eggs.
A pink egg. She's going to bring them all over in
Yeah.
a minute. That's it. Okay.
Sorry, so my husband's business,
Oh yes.
Reach the Core.
It's called
Just
what?
putting it out there, reachthecore.co.uk.
Nothing like blatant plugging, is there?
But it is awesome, so
Yes.
you know people should go and kind of
But
look
actually,
at it.
your husband, it is kind of crafty what your husband does, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. He's he likes. Oh, I don't know how to phrase this. He makes medieval weaponry. It sounds a bit more violent than it actually is.
But he recreates it.
He does,
basically.
yeah, and he goes to events to let people have a go. So it's effectively.
Oh, crayons!
Are you gonna draw with us?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think you could draw on some paper for us?
What do you think? Over here, Baba.
Wow.
Oh, we like the yellow. We could be here for some time.
Could be.
That's
maybe
it.
not
Oh, not on the
this
table. That's it. Why don't you pop those? Let me hand these back over to James.
No.
There you
No.
go. Good job. Well done. We're doing some painting. Do you like painting? Yellow. Oh, not on the
She
desk
likes
though. Oh, let's to get a cupcake. Let's keep her occupied. There we go.
There we
oh,
go.
yellow. You do some colouring for us. So he makes the no, not that one. He makes the medieval weaponry.
He does,
And
yeah.
Does he do that in sort of the in the traditional sort of way?
He makes it with a few more modern materials just for durability, because
Yeah.
the events that he goes to, it's to let public have a go.
Oh, okay.
So if you can imagine the events that he goes to, thousands of people use the
Yes.
weaponry that he makes. So he needs to make it so it lasts.
Yes, of course.
But it's about kind of educating in a fun way,
Yes.
and also letting people have a go on something that they wouldn't normally have a go on.
Yes.
And he can only
Which
do
you
with
wouldn't
his.
normally get a chance to have a go to medieval
No,
weapon.
casually just shoots a repeating crossbow or a catapult, you know,
So,
Sunday afternoon.
so a very loose connection to craft there, but craft nevertheless.
But he is very much a big inspiration behind what I do, because we share a workshop in the garden, and he makes things out of wood and I make all my signage and
So it
everything
really
else.
is a home business,
It
isn't
is definitely, yeah, it really is.
it? Yeah.
See, and wow.
Wow. And Izzy shares your workshop
She
too.
does,
Where's
yes.
she gone? Where's she gone? Wow, brilliant. Well, listen, I don't know about you, I'm ready for a crafty brew.
Yes.
We're losing track of time, I'm a bit parched. Steve, get the kettle on! Can't get the stuff, can you? We'll see you after this.
Good afternoon. Hello from Jelly Towers. It's Amanda Villamayor here, and I'm going to show you how to make your own bias binding to go with your own project. It could be bunting, it could be edging a dress, but if you don't want to use your standard block colour one that you can get from the shops, you can make it with matching fabric to suit your project. So I've got some flags for some bunting, and I want to use bias binding along the top in matching fabrics. So I'm going to take a little bit of the fabric that I've got over, and I'm going to cut it into strips, and I'm going to use it for the bias all the way along the top. So here's how we do it. First of all, iron the piece of fabric nice and flat that you're going to use. Place your fabric on a flat surface. I've got a really nice self-healing cutting board and a patchwork ruler and a cutter. I find it works really, really well, and it's any sewer's friend. You don't have to have meters and meters of fabric because you can cut it and join it. That's the joy of this. You can use up your scraps. I love using up scraps. So measure 4 centimeters and cut it all in strips. So I've got lots of little strips of 4 centimeters, and all you need to do now is just join them up. So put your right sides facing, pop it underneath the sewing machine on a straight stitch, a little forward and back at the beginning and at the end, and it's as simple as that. And just repeat until you've got one long line of however long you need it. Simples. So you've got one long line, and all you do, give it a press to flatten down your seams so there's no big bumpy bits in the middle, all the way along to the end. So out of that little tiny patch of fabric, I've actually got a nice long bit of potential bunting. Look, loads of it. Give your threads a little bit of a trim so that they don't stick out of your bias when you're doing your bunting, because that's a little annoying. So just give it all a little haircut, make your life easier. If you saw a couple of weeks back, I did a tutorial on how to make bunting, and I said there's many different ways of making your bias. You can get little tools, all of that sort of thing. This is my favourite. It's so simple. You just need 2 really long pins, I'd say 2.5 inches. Excuse my gammy ironing board, gets a lot of work. And you just pop them about 1.5 inches apart, like that, through the fabric. Is a bit fiddly, which is why I've pre-done it. So you've got like little train tracks, and then all you do, this is like how your grandma used to do it. You fold it over so it meets in the middle. This is a little bit tricky as well, but it's so worth it. Just pick your pin up, pop it through. Look, see, simple. Pop it through. Like I said, a little bit fiddly. A little bit fiddly. Excuse my terrible nails, I've been decorating. And sit it so it's nice and meets in the middle, just like that. Guide it through, I'd say about 4 inches, until it's wide enough to get your iron on. Get your iron on there, give it a bit of a steam. If you hold it so you pinch the 2 together, you'll get a nice even line, like that. So you get your iron, leave your iron there, and then all you do is you feed it through. Keep guiding it through so it doesn't overlap. But look what comes out the other end. A nice bit of matching bunting. Keep saying bunting. Bias binding to go with your bunting. So out of that half of a fat quarter, I've got about 3 meters of bias binding here. Fold it over in the half and fold it over. So now I'm going to put it on my bunting. So there you go, fold it over. Just sew over the end. Do a little back stitch and a little forward stitch. Hold it nice. There you go. Go as far as you want to go before you put your first flag in. And it's just like any shop bought, off the roll, bias binding. And there you go. You've got your perfect bunting.
Welcome back. Well, we're enjoying our crafty brew.
We are. Thanks, Steve.
Don't give Steve the credit. It wasn't Steve that made it. It was Alison that made it. If you forget who Alison is, Alison's a very kind lady who lends us her craft shop, because we're in a real life working craft shop here. That's all a bit generation game.
Yeah, it was a little bit dated.
And Alison runs the Craft Centre in Bourne. Check out her website, have a look. That's what we do for her in return for us lending us a shop. www.thecraftcentrebourne.com or co.uk. There you go. Or you can check out the Facebook page, which is imaginatively the Craft Centre Bourne again. Anyway, right, so before you went away to have a look at our excellent craft show Quickie, we're in the middle of painting a sign. I'm here with Hannah Silcox. She has that happen all the time.
It does happen all the time.
So can you just, where are we up to?
So I started off doing some of the rose details, which is a very easy, simple flower to do. That's why I chose it, because if you're starting out, then it means that you can blend them really easily, and it's just it looks nice at the end of it. So it means that if you're not great at doing this and you want to continue doing it, it gives you a bit of a inspiration, a bit of a boost, because it doesn't matter what you do to it, it will look like a rose by the end of it.
It'll look like a rose. So how do we start? How do we put one of those together?
Okay, so I've done a base colour on these of light pink, just to do a contrast of some of the dark pink roses that I've done. And I'm going to take the colour of the background just so it doesn't match the rest of the roses. Now the key to this is you can do it kind of like a poppy shape initially, just to get the shape of a rose. Again, the thing with these is that it's not perfect, and it's supposed to be like that. So every rose, every leaf is different. So, but one thing you have to make sure of is that you make it still wet.
Okay, because you put quite a few coats on there, that's to make sure it's really wet.
Yeah, I also, because it's quite a dark background colour, I don't, although I'm going to be using it as an accent, I don't want it to be like the main accent colour.
Yes.
So I'm going to be using the background colour now, just to blend in.
It doesn't matter what colours you use, these are just colours you happen to have.
Yeah, I've just decided, I mean, I didn't know what it was going to turn out like, so this is just kind of winging it really, but in a good way, because I know what I'm doing. But I wanted to bounce the colours off, so I am going to just add colours while it's still wet, just to add the petal details. And like I say, it's very simple to do, it's very easy to do, but you have to do it, it has to be pliable while it's still wet in order for it to actually look like rose petals. And
you're putting like almost like brackets when you type on a keyboard, almost like brackets in there.
And then you just mix it, you add paint, you add more of the base colour if it's too much. It's a very easy design to do, because if you go wrong, you can just paint over it, and then you can try again. So that's why I chose this one. It's the same with the leaf pattern.
But the little pink flower that you're doing there is the same technique as the rose that you've done.
Yes.
And again, you've used sort of a poppy shape, as opposed to just doing something that's round.
Yeah.
Almost like a poppy shape.
Yeah, it just, when you add the detail to it, it just adds, like, it's more of an effect for the petals rather than it just being a circle and flat.
Yeah.
So
if you're in the UK, you'll know we get the little petal, the little poppies, don't we? The little red poppies that you buy at Remembrance Day, and it is that shape. So we know where. Okay, so you make sure they're nice and wet. We had the accent in.
Yeah. And when you see it, that one looks more like it's got shriveled, it's like edges to it, so it looks more like the petals of a rose. So when that will dry, so see on here, I would probably take off a little bit of colour there.
There's a bit too much. Can
Yeah,
you just show us a little bit closer, just in case you can't see that home? That's brilliant. That's it.
On this one, it had a slightly bit too much of the background colour, which happens all the time. You can swap and change if you prefer that. That's fine. But for me personally, I'm just taking a little bit off, just so you can see a bit more of the detail.
Excellent.
On it. So.
And while it's wet, it's easier to do that, of course.
Definitely easier.
And just replicate that for any flowers you want. You could do buttercups.
Yeah.
Anything that's that sort of shape.
Yes.
So, buttercups, roses.
I could do tulips as well. You can add just to make sure that you're having the detail of the petals.
Gerberas.
Exactly.
Daisies, if you use the edge of your brush.
Exactly. See, you know more than I do.
I'm getting into it now.
Yeah. So I've added a few random flowers just to mix it up a little bit. But like I say, the shape and the colour is completely up to you. And the beauty of doing flowers is you can just add little bits in just to make it more full, or it can be more minimalist like this look. But the final look that I've done, I've added a bit more technique to it, so it pops a little bit more from the background colour. Which
we'll show you in a little while. So you've obviously, that's the flowers, that's a good basic way to do the flowers, so it's pretty straightforward. And then you've got these, what's that, laurel?
Yes.
It's like a laurel sort of wreath.
Yeah, it makes up the wreath, yes.
And that looks like that's probably quite straightforward to do, is it?
It is. It obviously depends what brush you have, but the brushes that I've got and the ones that I mentioned, they are practically the leaf shape.
Yes.
So you are...
That's what I meant, yeah, because you presumably do you just press that down? How does that work?
Well, it's more of a... Well, for these ones, obviously, it's more of a you have to draw the shape in.
Yes.
I wanted to do a double coat on this one anyway, so that's good. But for the smaller leaves, it's basically, you can pretty much do it in 2 strokes.
Right.
So the brush lends itself to being the shape of the leaf.
Yes.
So again, it's one of those really easy patterns to do, and anyone can give it a go.
Yes.
And if you mess up, again, like I said, with the background colour, you can just paint over it a little bit, and then it's no one's any the wiser.
Paint,
so,
isn't it? Is you can just paint, you can correct
brilliant medium.
I'm going to give this a second coat.
Yeah. Do you want to show them what it looks like, the first coat? Because it looks brilliant, yeah. See, first timer.
Drum roll. Not bad, eh? And in case you're thinking...
We need gasps from everybody going...
Yeah. Tumbleweeds. And in case you're thinking that... Oh, I've got it on Alison's desk. That's why it's gone now.
It's fine.
In case you're thinking that that Hannah jumped in and did this during our craft show quickie, you didn't, did you?
I can definitely say I did not do that. And
do you know how we know? Because she wouldn't have made the amateurish mistake of leaving her brush to go dry.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Which I have now done.
It is key. That is a top tip for anybody who wants to do any painting, is if you do, especially if you invest in paintbrushes, which if you want to give this a go, again, like I say, it would be a good idea just to get a small set, but you have to treat them well. You have to make sure after you've done painting, you have to clean them and let them air dry flat, because you don't want to get there and then they're going to be all crusty and you can't use them. So
so good top tip to have before you start.
Clean your brushes.
Not when it's been left on the side and then you say, I tell you shouldn't have done that.
You don't want that.
Is there something we should clean them in?
Well, it depends what the type of paint you use. A lot of the paint that I use is quite eco-friendly and water-based, so it is literally warm water.
Okay.
That's the reason why I brought the pot today. But if you're doing more outdoor signage, which I've obviously done, a lot of it is you have to use terps.
Okay.
So a tip with that, again, is don't let your brush sit in the terps, because if you leave it a day or so, then your brush is going to be, it's just not going to be usable.
No.
So
turpentine, that's what you're using. Can I dip in that
Sorry,
one?
abbreviated. Yes, definitely.
Well, no, it's only I don't know what it's called abroad, and we have...
That's true.
We have viewers from all over the world, don't you know?
We do.
So I don't know what they call it. Quite right. Good stuff. So you're doing that sort of laurel shape. That's pretty straightforward. And you're just doing that in 2 different colours. So you've used the light green.
3.
Oh, 3. I was looking at the light green, and then you've done the dark green.
So apparently there are a few... I love the names of these paints. I mean, the paints that I use... Wow, you're going for it there.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to get the bit off the top. It's a bit sticky.
Try it with that?
Yeah.
The paints that I use, they don't really have a name because I mix a lot of the paints. So I've got big batches of them because I like to make a more of a unique colour rather than just plain colours. But these have very interesting names like Putting Green and Crispy Crumble, which Steve thought was particularly interesting.
Hungry. Steve's hungry now.
Melon Sorbet is a leaf colour that we've used today. So
I like that as well. So if you were doing the writing, because that looks like it's quite complicated to do, can you get a bit of help with that?
Yes. So, I mean, I can show you some basic techniques today, because this is just... I've just done a very basic kind of script. But you can take classes anywhere, really. You just have to Google them, workshop, sign writing.
Talking of workshops, we have a workshop that's been sent in to us, because, of course, we do ask you to send in the workshops to us. Please do that, post them on our page. This week's workshop has been sent in by, you may know her, Jak Heath. Hello, Jak. If you're watching, they have a workshop every second Tuesday for 4 hours of creative fun.
Wow.
And that's in Durham. And the picture that we're putting up on the screen is of the March Hare Project. So there you go. That's always nice. Oh, and her details are on the screen, by the way. The website, jakheath.com, etc. Have a look. Where are we up to then? Because you're starting. You've started ahead. Look.
I have. I've started on the lettering. I need a smaller brush for this, but I need to wash one up. It is basically, it's a very basic script lettering that I've done.
Yeah.
So it's really clear. So the lines on it is going to be very easy to paint. So it is literally straight lines. And it means that you can do it, and I designed some for home, love, like quite typical phrases, but they look quite whimsical.
Yes.
And I thought it would go quite well with the reef effect.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because, of course, you can go to a workshop, which is something that you mentioned.
Yes.
But I don't know if this would work. Is there a way of maybe printing something off the computer if you wanted to do some lettering and somehow transferring that onto the board?
So a lot of my work is
we haven't rehearsed
freehand.
This, by the way. I just suddenly heard you could do that.
So my work is generally freehand, and that's kind of what I like to do.
Yes.
But if you're going to, say, like a shop, and I do shop writing or anything like that, you can use carbon paper. So basically it's like a transfer paper, so you can draw a design, you can print your design, or like make it on a computer and then print it off.
Brilliant.
And then effectively you put it underneath the design you've made, and then you just draw over it, and it does transfer straight onto whatever sign or piece of wood or anything that you're doing.
So if you're not a brilliant drawer, which I'm not, you could print something off the computer, from a magazine, maybe pictures from a magazine or something like that. And then you'd put the carbon paper. If you don't know what that is, then you must be under 40. Carbon paper, because you used to use it on typewriters, didn't you?
Yes.
Before we could print off multiple copies.
It just transfers whatever you put onto it.
And then you put that on, and you trace over your picture on top of it, and it puts the outline on there.
I will say a tip for it though is that if you have, well, no, actually, it's not too bad.
Oh, isn't it?
It's not. It doesn't smell particularly great.
No.
But
that's why we all had a great time with it in the 1970s.
And that's probably why I don't use it so much, especially for big sign writing, because I'd rather just be creative and just kind of go with it. But if you're using a white background like this one, it depends on the paint, but if you use a gloss or anything that dries like a gloss, it will stick to it. It will show.
It's shiny.
Yeah, it will show. It will transfer if you lean on it while you're drawing.
Oh, I see.
It will transfer some of the dark carbon onto.
So if you're going to do that, don't use white.
Well, it's just,
and don't use something shiny.
It's just kind of like my rule of thumb. But I think it does come off relatively easily. Yeah. But if it doesn't, it means that you have to paint the background again.
Yeah, saves
which
you
nobody wants to do. So,
no. But that's a good tip, isn't it? Because if you're not a super artist like you,
you're doing pretty good. Look at you.
I'm putting my second coat on.
Second coat. Oh, I need to speed up. I'm not on your level.
You do, because I'm about to start a sign writing business.
Oh God. Well, you're in Bourne, right? That's fine. No competition.
I don't think anybody in Bourne's got anything to worry about. To be honest. Oh, I'm struggling to stay in the lines, but we're getting there.
It looks really, really good. Really good.
Thank you.
And again, have you done any painting before?
Not really.
See, first time. And
certainly
this
not
is what
like
you can
anything like this.
Produce. So it's just about giving a go and having fun with it. Really, you can get the kids involved. I get my little girl Isabella involved. She loves painting.
How old is she, by the way?
She's just over 2 now.
Just over 2. She likes to craft, doesn't she?
She does. Loves painting. So that's great for me because I have lots of paint in the house. Well, it's also a hindrance as well.
Can be.
But she loves getting involved, and I involve her as much as I can on a daily basis with doing stuff like this because she's really creative, and hopefully I can be a positive influence on that.
Well, I think it is. I think it's good to channel that energy. Yeah, isn't it?
And she's the reason why I started doing it anyway. So
right. What explain?
Well, having a child, my first child anyway, I'm sure a lot of mums out there can kind of relate to this. You kind of lose yourself a little bit.
Yes.
So it was 2 years, and then I thought I really need a creative outlet. And I was already doing sign writing for my husband's business, which took up quite a lot of time. Yeah. But I wanted to do smaller bits and that are more little intricate and that people can obviously enjoy. So she's the reason why I did it, because I need a balance from being a mum, which is my world, but also part of my world is the creative side that I do,
Yes.
and it just means that she can get involved with it. So
What a lovely story. We like that.
Thank you.
And of course, the great thing with this is you can. It's almost like upcycling as well, isn't it? Because
Yes.
you can use offcuts. And now you've had that beech ply.
Well, I did it.
You cut it.
Yes, I
But
cut
here
and do everything.
you've used sort of like, what is this, like pallet?
Yes, it is. It's reclaimed wood that I found the other day, in fact.
So you've recycled it.
Yes.
Good
so
thinking.
I like
like
to
it.
just, whenever I go to places as well, and I can find the most gorgeous wood that's not, you can't buy at hardware stores.
Yes.
And it's so, I get really excited going to like the wood yard with my husband. It's a little bit sad, but it's just one of those things that, you know, you bond over. He gets the wood to make trebuchets and I get wood to make signs. So, but you find the most amazing pieces of wood,
Yes.
and it's the ones that we get from like the timber yard.
Yeah.
It's people are just going to throw out.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm all about repurposing and renewing. Putting life into something, so
And I'd
it can be
imagine
any wood.
If you've got a nice piece as well that's perhaps not used for anything else, but the wood itself, excuse me, the wood itself is like Alison's dodgy brew.
Oh no, Steve, go get him
Steve's
another
dodgy
cup of
brew.
tea.
If you have something that's a really nice piece of wood,
Mm-hmm.
in actual fact, I would imagine you can, you don't need to worry about painting the background on. You could paint a design on it like this,
Oh, yeah,
and then
you
maybe
could.
wax it afterwards or something like that.
It is a good idea, depending obviously where the sign's going to go, to always put a finishing wax or
Oh, is
anything.
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is just to protect
Yeah.
the paint and the design, because it could chip or.
And if you waxed it or something, because you darken the wood, perhaps.
Yeah,
that was
you could do it.
behind
There's so
and
many different types now.
loads of options.
There's one. My particular favourite is the it's like a vintage wax. A finishing wax that adds brown tones to it, so
Yes.
it looks weathered.
So would
and
you
a lot of
presumably
people
you'd
do
paint
that.
on that first,
Yes.
and then put
Yeah.
it over?
So it
'Cause you
stands
don't-
out
you
on
wax
any
it
colour
first
as
and-
well. So
Brilliant.
it just
Brilliant.
means that you can, if it's a new piece of wood, which a lot of people are doing.
Yes.
I would recommend going to get an old piece of wood, so it's
Okay.
not lonely, and you know you can
Yeah.
reuse everything.
So it's not lonely. Listen, I've got to tell you, because we're running out of time. It's blimey, time's clocking on very quickly, because obviously you've got to say,
Yes.
how do we take it to the next level? Because we've only got a couple of minutes.
Right.
You'll see there's a distinct difference.
There is a distinct difference. So this is basically putting the block colours down, and as you can see on this
Turn
one,
that way up for you.
as you can see on this one, it's got a lot more detail, and that's
Yes.
where I add the white in, just to
Okay.
make it pop from the background colour.
So is that all you've done? You've just accented it,
Yeah,
if you like,
it's
with
effectively.
white.
I think it would be really dull, and it would all just blend in too
Yes.
much if there wasn't any kind of detail in it.
It makes a big difference. Can you
Yeah,
quickly show us
it does.
a little bit how we do that?
So I'll do it on this one,
Mm-hmm.
as if you can see on this one, where all the accent pops through on all the leaves, and the roses have already got the detail on, so
Mm.
we don't need to do that. So my advice with things to create kind of like the gyp flower is just put it wherever you want to put it. Basically, you don't have to. It's not paint by numbers. It
No.
is. You can be as creative as you want. You can do as much as it if you want, and it's all about getting the right amount of paint on your brush. So you are. So I can do it the same as this. So you make sure that you do dots. It's just a single action. Very quick action. If you kind of linger on it, it's just going to smudge, or it's going to be too big. Or,
Yes, yes.
But it depends the type of effect you want, really.
And then you can build that up. And then
yes.
what about things like the veins and things in the leaves?
So I would, on here, I've done it to match kind of a leaf pattern, but you don't need to. So like on this one, I've
Yes.
added detail to it, but it's not a vein of a leaf or anything like
Okay.
that. I've just done it as an accent colour, just to add,
Oh, okay.
so a stipple effect.
Gives you almost like a bit of a 3D effect.
Totally made up flower.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the beauty
Doesn't
of
matter,
it. Yeah,
does it? Doesn't matter.
But it adds just a pop of colour
Yes.
and makes it show up a little bit more in the reef.
Well, just while you carry on putting a bit more of the white detail in there, so we can see that, I just want to remind you that if you would like to receive Hannah's welcome sign, there we go, you can do that by simply sharing the Facebook page. Please just share the Facebook page, and we will pick somebody out at random, and we will contact you sometime before the next show and get your details, and we'll send it to you if you're nice and lucky. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well if you're watching on YouTube. That's very, very important. So we've got 30 seconds left. Let's just one.
I'm not going to finish it.
No, I
There's not
know
enough
that.
time. Sorry, people. But the finished version will be sent to our lucky viewer, which is it'll be hanging as well. Just so you're aware, there'll be.
Oh right, so there'll be a bit. So like this. Bit of rope on it.
I have.
Well,
yeah.
listen, that's all we've got time for. I'm really sorry to cut you off. I hope you've had a great time here watching the craft show. We're going to have to go now. Don't forget, check out the website for the Bourne Craft Centre and also for Hannah Silcox, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.